It's a strange truth, a quietly devastating one. Because if that's real, if most worry is unnecessary, then why does it feel so natural? Why does it live inside us like a second heartbeat? Always there, always humming, always bracing for something. Why does every fear feel so convincing, so immediate, so real? We don't want to worry. We don't choose it. Worry chooses us. It shows up uninvited, whispering reminders of what could go wrong, what might fall apart, what may be taken from us. But before we begin, make sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support helps us continue bringing reflections that awaken, inspire, and transform. And what you're about to hear might change the way you see worry, the way you understand your mind, and maybe even the way you see yourself. Because this isn't a motivational speech, this isn't positivity, this is an awakening, a reclamation of inner peace in a world that thrives on your anxiety. The truth is, worry is not a sign of weakness, it is a sign of imagination. Your mind has become so good at creating possibilities that it has forgotten how to live in reality. You worry because you care, because you feel, because you've been hurt before and don't want to be hurt again. But caring without boundaries becomes fear. Feeling without awareness becomes chaos. Memory without healing becomes worry. And so the mind does what it has always done. It prepares for danger that isn't there. It tries to predict the future so it can protect you. It thinks endlessly, as if thought alone could build a safety net. But the mind doesn't realize something important, a truth ancient philosophers tried to teach. One Jung echoed, "Your mind is not built for modern life. Your nervous system is ancient, created for threats that were real, immediate, physical. Once upon a time, fear kept you alive. Worry kept you alert. Anxiety kept you from wandering into danger. But the world changed. Your nervous system didn't. Today, the tiger chasing you is a text message that isn't answered. The enemy tribe is an audience on social media. The threat to your survival is uncertainty, something your mind cannot control, cannot fight, cannot eliminate. So it spirals. Worry becomes a way of coping, even though it only makes things worse. You lie awake at night, rehearsing conversations you will never have, imagining mistakes you haven't made, fighting battles that don't exist. You worry about losing people you haven't lost, failing at tasks you haven't begun, disappointing people who aren't thinking about you. You worry about the future because the present feels too fragile to trust. And yet the irony, the future you fear never turns out exactly as you imagine. It is either softer or harder, but rarely the catastrophe you rehearsed. A mind that tries to predict reality becomes a slave to imagination. You don't fear what is, you fear what might be. And that fear consumes your energy so completely that you have none left to face reality at all. But here is where the transformation begins. Worry is not just fear. Worry is a lack of self-trust. You don't trust that things will work out. You don't trust that people won't abandon you. You don't trust that you can handle disappointment. You don't trust that you are resilient. You don't trust your future self. Worry is the mind saying, "I don't believe you can survive what might happen." But look at your life. Look at what you have survived. Look at the heartbreak you endured, the loss you lived through, the disappointments, the failures, the mistakes, the betrayals, and you're still here. Worry underestimates you. Fear forgets your strength. Fear forgets your strength. Your mind protects you by treating you as if you are still the weakest version of yourself. But you're not. You have grown. You've learned. You've adapted. And maybe it's time for your mind to catch up. The art of not worrying is not learned in a moment. It is not a switch. It is a slow, quiet remembering what is yours to carry and what is not. Because the truth is, worry often begins where responsibility ends. You don't control the weather. You don't control the economy. You don't control people's feelings, reactions, or decisions. You don't control outcomes, timing, or destiny. You don't control the past. You don't control the future. But you control your effort. You control your breathing. You control your boundaries. You control your presence. You control your self-respect. You control your response. You control your inner world. When you focus on the uncontrollable, you drown. When you focus on the controllable, you rise. Worry is misplaced responsibility. It is you holding the universe on your shoulders when the universe never asked you to. It is you trying to fix what does not belong to you. It is you trying to carry burdens that life never intended you to bear. Imagine trying to stop the ocean's waves with your hands. Impossible. Exhausting. Futile. That is what worry feels like, fighting nature itself. But here's the relief. You were never meant to control the waves. You were meant to learn how to surf them. And once you understand this, peace becomes possible. The art of not worrying begins with acceptance, not passive acceptance, but peaceful acceptance. Acceptance that life will always contain uncertainty. Acceptance that plans will change. Acceptance that people may hurt you. Acceptance that the future is unknowable. Acceptance that outcomes cannot be controlled. Acceptance does not mean surrender. Acceptance means you stop fighting the flow of life. You stop trying to predict every moment. You stop trying to avoid all pain. You stop trying to prevent every mistake. You stop expecting perfection from yourself and from reality. When you stop resisting uncertainty, something beautiful happens. Worry loses its fuel. You stop feeding your fear. You stop fueling your imagination with disaster. You stop bracing for impact when there is no impact to brace for. But acceptance alone is not the whole art. You must also learn presence. Worry exists only in the future, a place your body cannot live in. Presence is the only antidote. When you return to the moment, truly return, worry cannot survive. The mind cannot hold both fear and awareness at the same time. Try it. Take a breath. Feel your feet on the ground. Listen to the hum of the room around you. Notice the sensations in your body. For one moment, you are here not in your predictions, not in your fears. And for that moment, nothing is wrong. Nothing is collapsing. Everything is simply happening. Presence interrupts worry. Awareness dissolves fear. Stillness reveals truth. And the truth is, you are okay right now. In this breath, in this moment, in this second, the future has not happened yet, and the past is gone. Worry lives in neither place, so don't live there with it. But the final part of this art, the deepest part, is responsibility. Not responsibility for the world, but responsibility for yourself. Most people worry because they rely on external stability instead of internal stability. They want the world to be predictable because they don't trust their ability to adapt. But the art of not worrying is built on a new truth. Whatever happens, I will handle it. This sentence has ended more worry than anything else in history. It shifts the burden from control to capability. It transforms fear into confidence. It transforms uncertainty into possibility. You stop trying to prevent problems and start trusting your ability to solve them. You stop trying to predict the future and start preparing yourself to meet it. This is resilience. This is strength. This is self-trust. And self-trust is the end of worry. Because once you truly believe in your ability to handle life, you no longer fear life. You no longer fear loss. You no longer fear mistakes. You no longer fear failure. You no longer fear embarrassment. You no longer fear being alone. You no longer fear outcomes. The fear dissolves because your belief in yourself becomes larger than your belief in disaster. And this is the moment, the quiet, subtle moment where life begins to feel different. A heaviness you've carried for years finally lifts. You breathe deeper. Your chest loosens. Your shoulders fall. Your mind stops racing. You realize that most of your suffering was self-created, not out of malice, but out of innocence. You were trying to protect yourself the only way you knew how. But now, you know a better way. A calmer way, a wiser way. You start choosing peace over panic, clarity over chaos, presence over projection, acceptance over resistance, self-trust over worry, and slowly, you begin to feel something you haven't felt in a long time. You feel free. Free to exist without bracing, free to breathe without tension, free to move through life without fear's shadow, free to face tomorrow without trembling today. Because the truth is, you don't need to eliminate worry. You just need to outgrow it. You grow beyond the thoughts that once controlled you. You grow beyond the fears that once defined you. You grow beyond the habits that once imprisoned you. You grow into someone who understands that peace is not something you find, it's something you practice. You practice it in the morning. You practice it in conversations. You practice it in the face of uncertainty. You practice it when plans change. You practice it when fear whispers. Until one day, you wake up and realize, worry still exists, but it no longer owns you. You can still hear it, but it does not influence you. You can still feel it, but it does not paralyze you. You can still sense it, but it does not define your choices. It becomes background noise in a life you're finally living in the foreground. That is the art of not worrying, not the elimination of fear, but the prioritization of peace, not the control of outcomes, but the control of attention, not the prediction of life, but the presence within it. And once you learn this art, truly learn it, worry becomes something small, something quiet, something distant. You become someone calm in chaos, someone steady in uncertainty, someone grounded in storms, someone who trusts themselves more than they fear the future, someone who walks through life with a soft, unshakable confidence that others can feel. And once you reach that state, nothing owns you anymore. Not fear, not doubt, not insecurity, not uncertainty, not the stories in your mind. You become the author of your inner world, not the victim of it. And from that place, life becomes beautiful again. This is the art of not worrying.